guys, so today I'm gonna bring you another tutorial. This one I'm going to show you how to paint a wild mushroom forest little landscape. I'm gonna be using watercolors, but you can use whatever paint you want to use because I'm not gonna be doing any specific techniques or anything. If you are using watercolors, you'll notice up here I have a jar of clean water and a jar of like messy kind of already used water with color in it already, so I can take off the color in here and then get a clean brush out of here and clean water so it doesn't transfer the color. Okay, so we're gonna start with the tops of the mushroom because that will help us place everything around them in our scene. So I'm gonna make the tops of mine a red, kind of like a poison mushroom. And I'm gonna start with one large mushroom in the middle of my page. So I'm just gonna do a curved U-shape line like that. Then we'll kind of curve around like that. Same with this side over here. Gonna make that mushroom shape a little bit. And then another U, sort of matching, but less of a curve for underneath. And then we're gonna fill this in. If you want to leave little speckles on yours, like the little polka dots, you can just paint around them. Like here, I could go like this if I wanted to put dots. Same up here, I could just kind of make circles and leave that part open if I wanted to leave dots. Maybe we'll leave just a couple speckles on that guy. Okay, so the next few to make our mushroom forest, we're gonna do several. We're gonna do a smaller one down here, same technique as the bigger one. So we're gonna do a U, curved line, and then curve around and under, kind of like a jelly bean, and fill it in, maybe leaving some little speckles. So there's our second mushroom. It's almost, you could almost do them in heart shapes if that makes it easier for you, because mine kind of turned out like a upside down heart on that side. So if that's easier for you to do, make heart mushrooms. Then we'll do a little guy down here. We'll do our, there we go, just do a heart. Just do a heart for him. There's a baby mushroom. And then over here, we'll add a few. So another partial U shape, curve underneath. Fill in our little bean shape or heart shape, depending on what you want to do. Now, while these are drying, especially if you're using watercolor like me. If you're using like acrylic paint, it'll probably take less time to dry in between. But while that's drying, we don't want to go anywhere near it. So I'm gonna get some green, and we're gonna do some grass blades just hanging around beside them. So this will be like a very fine line, or you can make thick grass if you accidentally make a mistake. And you, oh, see there, I did a little thing, and we can just make this like a leaf or just a bigger blade. Or it's always easy to paint over if you want to paint over it and fix it. Let's do another. I'm gonna go kind of this direction this time. A little bit shorter blade. All we're doing is just making, like, you don't have to do a straight line, you just kind of just let your hand flow down the page, and we're making little blades of grass just meeting the bottom of our paper or canvas or whatever you're using. Let's see, I'll add maybe a short one right here. For me, I'm kind of letting some shakes happen because it gives it a little bit more organic look, like actual grass, where it's kind of uneven. I'm gonna do just a little tiny lines down here and fill in that area. Do another long one from here, I think. And this is definitely a part where it's your preference where you want these grass blades to go. Will warn you, it is kind of easy to get carried away sometimes and do too many. So I'm trying to hold back and not do a ton. And I'll add another one about right here, going this way. And then I'm gonna fill in the bottom. Well, I see things still need to dry. And you can kind of just bring lines up. You don't have to be precise, you just bring random lines, kind of curve them a little. Bring them overlapping your other taller blades of grass. Now let's go ahead and jump to adding some stems to our mushrooms. We'll actually add some more mushrooms later, but we have to do the background before the foreground. So we're doing that. I got some yellow for mine. You can do whatever color stem you want. So I'm just gonna draw a line down for this big mushroom. Thinner at the top. And then you parallel this line until the stem. Then you can kind of flare it out like that. And we're just going from the center of our heart or mushroom top whatever shape you used. And then we'll meet those two together and fill that in. Now for the next ones, mine are a little bit wet, so I might get some color transfer here. Yep. So we're bringing it down again, and if you have a thicker paintbrush, you can just do the stems as like one stroke, like this. Let's see, maybe I can add some here, and then it'll look like the bottom of the mushroom. Then this one's going to be a smaller guy right here. So we're going to do a thinner line in our center, like that. And then this one is a little bit thicker, but not as thick as our big mushroom in the front there. Getting some more color transfer. This is what happens when you don't wait for your watercolors to dry. Although it'll turn into a nice orange. Okay, I'm gonna sit and let that dry, and then we'll move on to the next. We're going to add a couple more tops of mushrooms to make it a little more foresty. Let's add one about here. There's our little slight heart shape right there. We'll do one right here. You can kind of place them where you'd like them, where you think they look nice to fill out this forest. Just go around adding in some mushrooms. They can kind of be more blobby too, they don't have to be heart-shaped. I'm gonna put a small one right here, overlapping our big tall one. I'm gonna have to kind of put a line like that. Actually, a lot of these that we made hearts, you kind of can add a little depth to by adding a line. And that one's bleeding through because it's still not dry. Same with our big guy up here. Go like that. So it kind of has that underneath cone shape. Go back to adding our tops, random spots. It's almost kind of like making bell shapes all over, or little gumdrops you could make too instead of hearts. baby one down here. Gonna make one overlapping here, even though that's still wet. I'm gonna actually add some color to this one. It's looking a little more pale than the rest of my mushrooms. Add a short one over here. It's gonna be kind of like a short, stubby one. Go ahead and add one right here too. There, I think. Maybe have enough for a mushroom forest. Actually, I'm gonna add a very tall one back here. Same with our little, like, I don't know, maybe you could make a boomerang shape too. Gumdrops, boomerangs, hearts. Okay, and I'm going to let mine dry again, and especially if you're also using watercolor, I would definitely let it fully dry. I'm a little impatient and I don't always like to wait, but I definitely would wait so you don't do an oopsie. But yeah, and then we'll go back to making stems again. So for our stems, same concept as before. I'm gonna use some orange this time since my other stems kind of turned orange. And just gonna do our line down to the end of the page. Like that. And you're gonna do that to every single mushroom we added. And you can kind of make them curved, like they're leaning a little bit. That one got maybe a little bit too thick. But let me show you with this one. So you can kind of like curve them off to the side. And then make their stem over here, like they're kind of a crooked growing mushroom. I would also suggest that, especially if you're right-handed, you start over on this side of the page and then work this way. I did not do that. But that just means I can't press my hand to the paper. Gonna make like a long skinny mushroom happen over here. And then our front mushroom. Bring it all the way down to the edge of the page. Make this one a crooked mushroom. So you don't have to be doing straight, perfect lines or anything. You can make this curve the other direction. Bring it down to the edge of the page. This guy's gonna be a shorter one. Just gonna end about right here. And then our tall one that I said was gonna be back here. Just gonna do a preliminary stroke. And then fill it in. I'm actually maybe gonna make it curve over here. So it's behind this one, but it's like curving up. Okay, so the next step will be to bring more grass blades all the way throughout our little mushroom forest. So we're waiting for it to dry again and do that last step. Now we'll go back to our green and finish up with our blades of grass. So I'm gonna start by putting one about right here. Long drawn out one. You're gonna kind of want to use your what's called horizon lines. Like these mushrooms are pretty much on the horizon line. So you want to work down from there. So these grass blades are going to be next to these mushrooms back here, and you're gonna bring them to that imaginary line instead of to the bottom of the page in this case. And like before, just kind of feel it out wherever you want to put some of these lines to be grass. And try not to make just straight lines. Try to vary what type of line you're making. So like you can do a squiggly one. I'm gonna do a long one, kind of cutting through. And you also want to watch when you want a blade to go behind one of these, you need to stop and then continue the line after you're on the other side of that mushroom. Otherwise, it will be in front of it. Another one behind this mushroom. And same with the grass down here. You kind of want to match it up to where these mushrooms end down here. And you can kind of overlap the stems too. Do short little lines. And if it helps, you can get a pencil and just draw a light line where the bottoms of these are to help you. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Can kind of fill in a little with this green. Make some kind of rough, jaggedy lines, just kind of randomly. Fill in that space. Maybe even add some more grass to over here. It's looking kind of bare. Gonna work towards my other side of the page. Gonna put some in front of this one. Fill in. We'll do an overall fill-in of paint later, but I'm just kind of also filling in to give myself that line. There's a thicker blade of grass. Definitely put my wrist in some green. You're just looking to where you want to put these random lines. And also keep in mind that it's kind of like a bug's view or like a small critter view of this mushroom forest. We're like on the ground, smaller than these mushrooms, so you kind of gotta think about how that would look from that perspective. I'm gonna add like one more over here. For this back row. And then this front row is going to be looking a little bit taller, maybe thicker, and if you go over the past ones you made, that's fine, because the closer grass is gonna look thicker and bigger, taller. You gotta think about what it would be like to be a bug, or a fairy, or whatever you want to imagine yourself as. Gonna make one cross over both of these. Do some little strokes down here. I don't really want a ton of the bottoms of these stems to show since they're growing out of the ground. So I'm kind of trying to cover them. Make it look like they're more covered. Let's do one very dark, thick blade right here. Just making it darker. It's more in the front. Go back over here. Add some. Sometimes helps to have the right brush too. If you notice the shape, this is a round watercolor brush. It kind of gives that ability to kind of press and move in the way of like a leaf or a blade of grass would go, so it kind of makes it easier for me. And there's equivalents in like acrylic paint too. Acrylic paint just isn't as fluid sometimes, but you can add water to it and make it a little easier to move. Just not a ton like watercolor. Adding some little blades down here, not too many. Don't want to make it too busy. I'm actually gonna add kind of a blade of grass. Gonna stop there and up through that mushroom. Then I'll do one kind of hiding behind this one. There. Okay. And then I'm going to use a different color to fill in. I'm going to use a lighter green. So I'm going to go back and fill in these white spaces. And with watercolor you can kind of water it down more so that you're not completely covering it if you don't want to, or you can just kind of try to fit paint in between what you've done already. kind of doing little blades of this color a little bit, just to add some depth and make it come together. And there's our little mushroom forest. You can go back through once it's dry and maybe outline in black if you want to make it stand out more, if that's what you'd like. I hope you enjoyed this paint along video. If you'd like me to do more of this kind of thing, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know maybe what you'd like to paint along with me and learn to paint. I enjoyed doing this little tiny painting with you guys. So if you did too, please give it a like and subscribe for more of this type of thing. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great week. Hi, I'm Brittany, here with your Art Fail of the Week. Today we're going to be going back to the roots of this channel, where I show you how to draw this squirrel. If you could leave in the comments something that you would like to be shown how to simply draw, that would be awesome. Now let's just get on to the drawing. So get your pencils ready. Alright, so our first steps are to draw our circles that we'll use as our base, basically, to draw off of. So we're going to start with one small circle towards the top of our page, and underneath that draw a long oval, kind of making it a little thicker over on this side, the right side, unless you want your squirrel facing the opposite direction, which might be a little difficult following along. And we're going to put another smaller circle within this circle for his little mouth, his snout. So you can kind of use the bottom edge of your circle and draw another tinier circle. And don't draw too dark with your pencil, because we're going to be erasing most of these lines when we're done. And to help with our tail later, we're going to do another circle right next to where his head is going to go, right off to the side. Okay, and I know it helps me. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but very, very lightly draw kind of an X as the center of your circle, and then another horizontal line, or I guess a line. It's not an X until you finish this step. Another line horizontally across your circle. That'll just help you with placement of like the eyes and ears and mouth. Okay, so let's kind of shape his face a little bit. I'm going to come from the bottom and kind of shave off some of our circle and make it more of a rounded triangle, right? I'm actually going just up to this middle line you drew across here and just kind of shaping that in the form of a snout, just kind of rounding it out, making it triangular but still rounded. And then the top of the head, I'm just going to kind of bring it around. So I'm not using that complete circle. I want his head a little more football shaped, I guess. You can make yours round if you want more of a rounded headed squirrel. Okay, then on either side, we're going to put his ears. It's sort of like cat ears, but they're a little bit more round. So if you want to make triangles to help you, you can. Otherwise, you just kind of do a little bit of a U shape on either side of his head. And their ears are a little bit smaller on squirrels, so you don't want to draw them too big. Next, let's move on to the body. So using our oval, we're going to kind of draw his neck. And draw his neck from his head that we have there. And down his back. He's going to be a little bit more pudgy down towards the bottom, because if you've ever seen a squirrel kind of just sit there, they kind of get all hunched over and look a little bit fatter than they are. Okay, And then I'm gonna lightly do this line for his tummy because we're gonna add arms and we're gonna need to erase a part of this later. Now let's draw little ovals for his feet, just lightly first. Oval there. And then a little bit over another oval. They're skinnier ovals, kind of like jelly beans. Okay. And connect to your feet. This one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to come up and kind of go like this. And then erase our lines. Now let's try our arms. Do another 2 ovals. These ones a little bit bigger this time. We're going to have one coming off of out here. Not quite center, but a little bit above the center. And then maybe let's come down a little bit from the chin and draw our second one. And if it helps you, you can take your pencil and lightly draw that line down so you know where you want it, in case that's something that helps you. Add another grid line. There's our 2 jelly bean arms. And we can get rid of some of these lines that overlap. And we're going to actually erase part of our jelly bean over here so it looks like he actually has an arm sticking out. And then we're going to add little claw paw little lines, just little lines coming off of those ends for his little fingers, and we have to do his toes. Do that a little bit on his feet. We'll wait. We're gonna do an acorn right here, but I'm gonna wait to do that until we're done with the actual squirrel. Okay, so now our eyeballs, if we're using our X, are gonna go on either side of his head. And squirrels have very beady black eyes, so we're gonna fill in those eyes, but leave just a little white for that glisten of light. So we got our circle. We're gonna put our nose, another little jelly bean in the center of that circle. Draw a short line down. Then we're gonna make kind of little C's for his mouth. Oop. It's a little bit of a longer C. And if you want his nose to be a different color, you can kind of keep that circle, but I'm going to erase my circle. And if you didn't quite like how his face turned out, you can always go back and fix it based on where you put his mouth. I'm gonna fix his ears a little. You can also take this time to catch up to where I am. But remember, you can always pause the video, or you can move past this part on your own. Just darkening up his lines that I drew that I want to stay. Okay, his tail. Now, we're pretty much going to use this circle coming off of him, but instead of doing the full circle, stop, and then we're going to do a little curly cue in, like that. Then from this point, we're going to do a wavy line, bring it out here, and then we're gonna connect it to his bottom. Alright, now our acorn. So, from this paw, make kind of that rounded triangle over to the other paw, or like the bottom of a heart. Then we're gonna draw a line, not a straight line, but kind of curved across to the other paw. There's the bottom of our acorn. And then, a little space away, draw another line across, almost like it's a rainbow. And then the very center, we're going to draw our little stem, just 2 lines up and connect them. And if you want to be extra fancy, you can add texture to this top of the acorn. It's just going to be little tiny U's all the way across, or like dragon scales or lizard scales. And notice the second row, I'm going where the 2 top ones meet, those 2 U's, just to make it a little bit different and not so similar to the top. And I just do that until that whole little like miniature rainbow that we did is full. And there's our squirrel. And if you need to refine anything before you color, now is the time. Now is the time to erase all those lines that you didn't, to erase all those lines that you used as your guardrails as you drew the squirrel, just to prove that your drawing can turn out differently than mine. This is the squirrel I drew just as practice before this, so that I knew the steps I would show you, and I drew him a little bit longer and put his eyes in a little bit different spot, so you can draw things differently a second time. Your drawing might turn out a little bit different than mine, especially if you're getting more creative with yours. So just don't feel bad if your drawing doesn't look exactly like this. I'm gonna go ahead and color mine. I'm gonna speed up the video, but you can still color along with me. we're getting towards the end of the video now, and I hope your squirrels turned out wonderfully. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you out, please leave a like on it. Hey guys, so it's been a while since I did easy how to draw, so I decided to do a fall themed one and show you how to draw a simple pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. As always, we keep it pretty simple with just a piece of regular printer paper and a number 2 pencil. And if you'd like to outline your drawing at the end, kind of like a coloring book page, any black marker will work. Okay, so first we're gonna start by drawing a big oval right in the center of our page, like that. Now, don't spend forever trying to get the perfect oval, because pumpkins aren't exactly all perfect shape, so just any kind of oval is fine. So after you get your oval drawn, we're gonna draw this stem right here. So you're gonna do kind of a backward C line from this point, kind of towards the center, and then you're gonna go right next to that and do another sort of backward C. And then once you get those two, you'll just bring the line across like this. And then do another little tiny oval for the top. Now, pumpkins obviously aren't perfect ovals. They have their bumps. So we're gonna go ahead and draw lines for where those bumps are gonna be. So we're just kind of dividing this oval that we drew with lines about maybe an inch or so apart, and of course on the sides right here it's gonna be like half that. And we're just gonna go across our whole oval with these lines just to mark the bumps on our pumpkin. Now, these lines will help us make our bumps on the top and the bottom. So each one we're going to connect with that kind of partial curved C type line and make them into the ridges or bumps of the pumpkin. And then we'll do the same thing for the bottom. They'll probably be a little more flattened just because it's the bottom of the pumpkin. Like so. And then we can go ahead and erase the original oval lines. And you even erase if the line kind of overlaps from that stem that you put at the top. And there's our pumpkin, and I'll show you how to make it into kind of a jack-o'-lantern if you want to make it into that. But if you want to stop here with just the pumpkin, this is just a simple pumpkin you can make. Okay, so now if you want to make this into a jack-o'-lantern, you can Google image yourself if you want a certain type of face for him, but I'm just gonna do like the normal cliche jack-o'-lantern face for this tutorial. So we're gonna kind of see where the center of our pumpkin is, and it's probably gonna be like one eye about here and then the other one here. So if you want to go ahead and kind of lightly just mark those, and then the nose is probably going to be about here. So if you just want to make little hatch marks maybe to mark for yourself where things are going to be. And I think I'm going to make his smile kind of wider. So I'm going to make little hash marks to mark where I want his smile to end. And then after we're done marking those, we can go ahead and draw our triangles for the eyes. And then a triangle again for the nose. And then, because the smile is kind of you have to make the bumps for the teeth, I'll just show you. First we'll just do like a simple smile, and then we'll work in the actual toothy grin type thing. And if you'll see where the center of the pumpkin is, and that's kind of where you want the lowest dip of that smile to go from. So you'll kind of bring that line down from each of these points to the middle. Kind of looks like a banana right now, very, very skinny, sharp banana. Okay, and once you're done with your little banana smile, add kind of teeth where you want them to go. I'm just gonna add a few little bumps of teeth. So from that line that you drew, your banana line, you're gonna draw into the center of the banana where you want the teeth to be and what you want them to look like. Like this, you can make one little short tooth, but then I could make like a little fang right here for a different tooth. And then darken that line that we made before for when we don't want any teeth. And I'll make one to match the one I have on that side a little bit. And then I did a fang, so we'll do a fang right here. And then back up to our point that we made before. And then for the bottom teeth, you're gonna go the opposite direction. You're gonna actually go down here. So we're gonna do our tooth in like that, in like that, and then back up to here. And then the same thing over here. We're gonna go in or down and then back up to that line. And then down, and back up to our main point there. And there's his simple smile. Now, if you like how it looks right now, you can go ahead and stop if you like how your drawing turned out. But I'm also going to show you how to kind of make it more three-dimensional. As you know, when you're carving a pumpkin, there's still that thick, like, outer shell or skin or whatever it's called, and that's kind of what will give us the 3D look. So we're just going to draw a line inside our triangle, another diagonal line up, and then one on this side to show that there's still that little bit carved out. And then this side, we're just gonna see that part. And then the nose is the same thing, but we're gonna see the bottom portion. And then probably maybe a little bit of this edge too. And now with the teeth, this top row, we're not really gonna see a whole lot of the thickness, but this bottom, because we went down, it's actually going to help us to draw that thick layer that's gonna be there, that got carved out. So you're just gonna kind of follow pretty much along the same lines as you made before to give it that 3D carved out look. Following it kind of up and down, and up into his smile on either side. And then to make this look even more three-dimensional, you can kind of add some lines. Like this would be either the poked out section or the like little bump divot on the stem. If you want to make this part look a little more 3D. Okay, so that's our jack-o'-lantern. I'm gonna go ahead and line mine with my marker and erase all the extra lines that I don't want, and probably color it too if you guys want to watch me color. So I hope you enjoyed this simple how to draw tutorial. Give it a thumbs up if this was helpful to you. Also leave in the comments if this helped you do any kind of craft or project. I really like to know whether my tutorials are helping people. And also subscribe to this channel for more tutorials like this and other art things. Hi, I'm Brittany here with your art fail of the day. Today I'll be showing you how to draw a turkey with the normal hand turkey. We're gonna revamp the hand turkey to help you draw a turkey for this Thanksgiving as some kind of decoration or some kind of fun family activity. So, the things you'll be using today are a pencil, make sure you have an eraser, something to color with. It doesn't have to be crayons. I picked out some crayons just because something simple that I know everyone usually has around. Some colors that are kind of the turkey colors like browns and red and yellow. Alright, let's get started. Alright, first step, place your hand on the paper. We're doing the hand turkey, but I'm not gonna super follow the lines of my fingers. Like, I'm not being super precise about it. I'm just following where my fingers are. Right, so we have our hand turkey. Now, the next step, connect. We're going to connect each finger that we left with just kind of a slightly curved line. It doesn't have to be straight. It's actually better if it's not straight. And we're going to actually add some feathers onto either side. So down here from your pinky, do another curved kind of half oval and meet it with that side of where your hand is. And then this side, we're going to kind of do the same thing, just draw a line off. And we're going to meet up with about right here. Okay, and go ahead and also connect these the same way we did before. I don't know if you're kind of seeing more of a full feathered turkey yet. That's what we're going for. Now we're gonna use our fingers to bring those lines down a little bit to create the feathers. Like this. And then we can erase kind of anything that's in the middle. They'll kind of make like this V in between. So you don't need the half curved that your fingers did. And we're gonna leave this one behind that one, and the same thing here. Let's round out our wrist part, just like that. And we're gonna work on his feathers a little bit more. So, from this point, let's draw one little swoop like that. Then we're gonna do that all the way across until we get to this side, okay? So, we're just doing those half circle, kind of U-shaped bumps all the way to this edge, like that. And then we're going to do a second set, okay? These are going to be a little bit smaller. Kind of imagine they fit inside these ones. Like that, just a little bit smaller. We're going to do the same thing all the way over to the other edge. And now where you see some of these lines kind of make their way into what you just drew, we're just going to erase those. It's a little easier to erase them if you're not drawing too firmly with your pencil lead. I tend to do that on these how to draws just because then it's easier for you guys to see. Okay. I'll let you catch up a little bit. Alright, so let's do his wing. So it's going to be about in the center here. This is going to be one of them that we don't really have any guidelines to make. So I'll go about in the center. We'll come from here, his back. Draw a line like that. And another line over it, like that. There's our wing. Now I didn't leave enough space for me to do feet on mine. Could have moved my hand up a little bit more, but for feet you're gonna just kind of draw straight lines down, and then I'll show you over here. So we have our straight lines down, a little bit spaced apart, and then I kind of draw a little lightly circle. I know I'm drawing a little bit firmer so you guys can see. Kind of circle feet first, and then you can make it into a triangle shape, and then do the little baby triangles to make his toes. Triangle out. His little toes. So that's gonna be how you do his feet underneath. I just don't have room to show you exactly on mine. I'll leave those up there for now so you can kind of look at them. Okay, now let's see. Let's fix up these feathers. So we're kind of round these out a little. Our connector feathers. And erase those lines. This is why you need a good eraser. I should be using my good one over here, but it's just so convenient to use the end of your pencil. Mine's just running very low. Okay, and you can kind of, if you've been drawing lightly, you can kind of darken these up. Alright, now for his face, his eye's going to be about here, so let's draw a circle, or if you want to do kind of like a straight line and then do kind of like a gumdrop, you can do that shape too. And then for his actual eye, I'm going to draw another line inside, a little half circle. He's looking this direction, So that's why I have that half circle towards the front. Now, from that eyeball, this little beak, we're just doing a triangle. Right off of where that eyeball is. So I'm not gonna lie, I had to look this term up. We're gonna draw the turkey's wattle, W-A-T-T-L-E, which is the little part that hangs under their chin. So we're gonna do like an upside down heart, and if it helps you to like turn your page like this and then draw your heart, then go ahead and do that. But right under his chin, we're gonna do our partial heart. And that's pretty much it for our turkey. I can show you in coloring kind of what you can do with yours. But I hope you had fun drawing this and this helped you out and transform the normal hand turkey into something a little closer to a turkey. Okay, so the way I'm going to color this, I'll kind of color by number this a little bit. So I have both a brown and light brown, but I can also show you a trick if you only have like a dark brown. But, so obviously beak, yellow. I'm just gonna put little dots in his feet. Also, if you have orange, you can use orange instead of yellow. But also, let me show you this trick too. Okay, so you can take your yellow crayon. I don't know how well this will work with markers, but you can also do this with colored pencils. And then, so I filled that beak in with yellow, and then I'm gonna lightly go over with some red. Just really light touch over that yellow. And you kind of see how that transforms it to be like a dark orange. So you can actually color mix with your crayons. Red. Now, the feathers, obviously I'm not following a true turkey, but I'm gonna go red here. Brown. Light brown. Or on this last one, I'll show you my trick. If you do not have a light brown, so you see that's the normal dark, if you're like pressing pretty hard on that crayon, you just go super light. Right, so that looks a little bit lighter than when you're normally coloring. So I'll show you on this wing. It's not the wing, this feather. See how if I'm coloring normal, there's a difference. It's subtle, But if you don't have a light brown on hand, that's one way you can get that slight difference. It might look a little weird on mine because now I'm going to have this light brown next to it. It's almost like a orangey brown. Right. And then the rest of the turkey I'll probably mix and match my two browns, right, wherever I feel like I want maybe some lighter and different shades. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and color my turkey, and I hope my little tips helped you out if you're kind of missing colors or anything. You can also layer like your yellow on top of your brown to make it more of a tan. So I hope those tips helped you, and I'm gonna go ahead and color my turkey. Hi, I'm Brittany here with your Art Fail of the Week. Hi everyone, so today I will be showing you how to draw 3 different simple Halloween doodles that you can maybe do for decorations or to celebrate Halloween. So let's get started. Alright, so we'll start out with the simplest in my opinion. I'm just using regular printer paper for this, and I'm gonna go up into a corner to do the first one, but if you want to make a whole page for yours, that works too. Okay, so we're gonna draw a ghost for this one. So what you're gonna do is draw a big U shape, and if it helps to turn your paper upside down to make your U, then go ahead and do that. Alright, now you can either do zigzags, but if you want it more flowy, just do more of a curvy zigzag instead of doing straight lines. And then I'm going to add arms to mine, so you can do little kind of curved U's off on each side. And you could even have one going down like this, so maybe he's waving with that one. Like that. I'll let you catch up a little bit. So now for the face, you can either make, well, let's just go ahead and start with the circles for the eyes. Then you can either make him spooky and do another circle or oval like that, or you can make him kind of smiling. So you could use this bottom of this oval and then just kind of cut into it and make him a smiley ghost instead of going boo. He's smiling at you. And then you can color these in to make our ghost. I'm just coloring it in with pencil, but crayons will definitely work. Okay, so that's our one simple drawing, probably the simplest out of the 3. Next, we're gonna draw a bat. So we're gonna draw 2 circles. We're gonna draw a bigger one for his body, and then right on top of that is kind of like a snowman. We're gonna draw a little bit smaller one, so a little bit like a snowman, but not quite. And then actually I'm gonna make his face on mine a little bigger. Too small of a head, so I'm gonna make my head a little bit bigger. Okay, and then we want our 2 ears, so they're sort of like cat ears. They're kind of like triangle ovals, if that makes sense, where it's more of a, it comes to a point, but we're kind of rounding them out. And then from where his shoulders basically are, we're gonna draw 2 straight lines out like this. And from each point, I'm going to draw a curvy line down like this. And then from there, we're gonna kind of do that same shape all the way back to his body. Like that. So there's his wings. And then his two eyes, two circles. Then we'll do his nose, kind of a sideways oval. And then for his mouth, I kind of have a line there already, but I'm gonna make a little smile. And then for his teeth, do two little triangles. Like that. So 2 is our bat. Then next, the hardest of all of them, but still simple, we're gonna draw a Frankenstein head. So we're gonna start with a rectangle. And then I'm going to kind of make his head rounded at the top. So we're going to draw from one side to the other, just kind of half a circle. And then draw another straight line across right here. And then this is where we're going to put the two little screws that are on the side of his head, or the little electrodes, whatever they are supposed to be. So I'm going to draw two little lines like that. Then we're going to do another kind of rectangle shape. So if you want to, you can connect it and just make another rectangle. And then following that line across on the other side, same two little lines, and then if you want to just draw a full rectangle there. And then this will kind of help us mark where his eyebrows will be. So then his two eyes, I'm going to make mine 2 different sizes, but if you want to make yours the same size, that's fine. So I'm going to do one eye here and a bigger eye here. And then add little circles inside for his pupils. And then, like I said, this line is going to help us with his eyebrows. So just do like little C shapes. And then make them thicker if you want to. And then for his hair, we're gonna kind of do some zigzags on this line that's helping us up here. Next, his nose, I'm gonna do a triangle nose. So put a little triangle in between those two eyes and just a little further down. And then you can make him smiling or frowning. I'm gonna make him more of a happy little Frankenstein monster. So I'm drawing sort of smile already, and then to make his smile bigger, I'm connecting those two like that. And then I'm gonna add a little square here for his tooth. He's missing his teeth. And then this will just be black and colored in. Same with his pupils. Those will be colored in. And then you can either keep him this shape, but I'm gonna make his cheeks more defined. I'm gonna come down about right here, draw a line in, same with right here, match it up. And then I'm gonna make him have like more of a defined chin, like this. And then this part will erase. And then he has more of a chin. And then his neck would be right here. You want to draw some lines down. And if you want to draw him to have a body, go right ahead. But I'm not going to show you that because that's not as simple. So there's our number 3 and our 3 simple Halloween doodles or drawings. And we can go ahead and color those or just leave them as black and white doodles. I'm gonna go ahead and color mine with some markers. If you wanna drop out of the video now, you can. If not, color along with me for the last few minutes. And I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave a like if this helped you out and you created some fun Halloween decorations or drawings. And also comment if you have an idea for another how to draw video I can do, or if you just really enjoyed this one. It helps my channel out. And also subscribe if you're new and found this through the search to try and draw some Halloween things. I do how to draws and other art videos. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, so today I thought it'd be fun to show you how to draw a spooky house or a haunted house. So I'm going to show you a simple way to do that for the upcoming Halloween holiday. So first we're gonna start with some rectangles. We're gonna start with a kind of towards this side of our paper, the left side of our paper. We're going to draw kind of a short stubby rectangle, not quite a square. And then right from this point we're gonna draw our second rectangle. This one's gonna be a longer one. So we'll go like this. And then come down from this bottom point, draw a line out, and then we're gonna connect our points to make a longer, skinnier rectangle. to worry about doing straight lines because it's a spooky, haunted old house and it's not gonna be perfect. Next, to help us with our roof, from the tops of our two rectangles, we're gonna draw two lines to make a triangle. So two triangles on the tops of those rectangles. The next step that we are going to do is adding our roofs. So we can use our triangles here, and we're just going to come off of those and kind of use those as our guide and make another rectangular shape. But we're going to overlap this longer rectangle because the roof from this one is actually in front of this part of our house. And then we're going to do the same up here. And we can go ahead and erase our guidelines. My eraser is a little big, so I'm getting some of my roof. Oh, in this little part right here. I don't have much eraser on my pencil, so I'm having to use my big orange eraser. Next, we can do our doors and windows. So that's going to be a lot more squares and rectangles. You can put your doors and windows wherever you would like. I'm going to put a window here. A window up here. Then I'm going to kind of put longer ones. One right there, one right here, and then my front door I'm gonna make right here. And I'm gonna kind of make mine rounded like that, and it's gonna be a wooden front door, so I'm gonna add little lines to make it look like there's wooden planks on my door. And then add a little doorknob. And I think this side needs a couple more windows, so I'm going to put two more squares. And to finish out kind of our base drawing, I'm gonna add some landscape here. I'm just gonna do some hills maybe out off of my house. You can do a straight line if you want to, if you don't feel like your house is in a hilly place. And I'm gonna make a graveyard next to mine. So put some tombstones, just doing almost like gumdrop shapes. Maybe make one like a more rectangle tomb type shrine, tombstone almost. Make some shorter ones just to give your graveyard some different shapes in it. And then I'm gonna do like a little path for my house, so I'm just doing a little squiggly line to the edge of my paper from the house. And then you can kind of do a second line that follows that squiggly line. So I left some space here. I left this blank because I want to do like a wraparound porch looking thing. So I'm gonna draw a straight line across for my porch roof. Actually, I'm gonna make it higher because if the door is this tall, that means the top of this needs to be proportioned to it a little bit. And draw a line down. This is one post, one end post, and then draw another end post on this side. And then another line here to connect the two, and at the bottom. And then once we have those, we can kind of do our little lines across for our deck railing. Just drawing little sections, straight lines. And then I'm going to draw a second line matching this one up here, so it's more of a railing. And the same for this, so it's got an actual beam up there across instead of just a really thin line. And on this little railing, I'm gonna draw a pretty big pumpkin right here. Jack-o'-lantern. So I just kind of did like a bean shape. And then where this little dip is, I'll put the stem. And then you just make some triangles. And a little goofy smile. And there's our jack-o'-lantern sitting on our porch. Now our house still isn't spooky enough, so I'm going to draw some cobwebs on this. So I'm just drawing this line down, connecting it to this little banister. Kind of squiggly a little bit, and then we'll also crisscross to make the web. So I'm just going in a different direction, making those squiggly lines, making it a spider web. And then I'll put our spider kind of right here, just filling in a circle, giving it some legs off of it, There's our little spider sitting on our porch with his web. Now for this blank area, I'm going to draw a ghost. So it's gonna be another like gumdrop shape, kind of a upside down U we're gonna make. And we're gonna do some squigglies down here to meet those two sides. And just some circles for our ghost face. And if you want to, you can do like a little baby ghost over here too. Just do the same thing you did with that ghost. Just make them smaller. There's our ghosts. And I think our windows are missing something, so I'm gonna draw an outline of a cat in this one. So I'm gonna draw a circle, fill it in, some triangles for the ears, and then for his body, we just fill in the rest of the window with a gumdroppy shape again. There's a black cat in that window. Or something else. It could be a shadow of something else. Next, let's add a little spooky chimney. So from here, I'm just gonna draw two lines, kind of like I'm making a rectangle. Then I'm going to make it jagged like this. It's gonna be a weird looking chimney. So we do like a zigzag, almost like lightning bolt, and then I'm gonna make a triangle. And there's our weird chimney, and we can make some maybe smoke coming out, just some squiggly lines, little puffs of smoke. And now I'll show you kind of how to do the siding on the house. So you might need a straight edge. I'm going to use one just to show you. Or, so you can get this, you're gonna do a straight line overlapping and going over these side ones. I'll show you why in a second. You can use the straight edge and have like a perfectly straight line, or you can just do your normal straight line across and make it not so perfect. For the sake of time, I'm gonna speed up the video here, but you're just adding lines across your house, and it doesn't matter if you're making them perfectly spaced or not. Just remember, we're trying to overlap on the edges. Okay, so when you have all your lines on your house, I'll show you why we overlapped with our lines. So you're gonna kind of make a jagged edge using those because our house isn't in the best shape, so all these are gonna be kind of raggedy, broken down edges. And there's no like certain way I'm making my lines. I'm just doing kind of little zigzaggy things between my lines that I drew before. Same thing over here. And the same thing in the middle. Jaggedy, falling apart, haunted house. Like that. And I don't have a small enough eraser, but you can go ahead and erase in between here with our straight line so that it's all jagged. Alright, so next I'm gonna go ahead and add the creepy tree over here. So from this point I'm gonna draw a line up and then go over a little bit, kind of curve it because this is where the root is gonna be, and follow my other line. Make the roots down here. Just follow that out and make a little root like that. And then for the branches, I'm gonna kind of draw a line first where I want them. And then I can use those to help me, like guidelines. Okay, so this one's going behind our house. So I'm making sure I'm not drawing over the house. And then I'm going to add a little branch here. Meet it back to the trunk. This branch up here. I'm just following my guidelines, adding little branches off, following my guideline again. And I need to bring this back down to the trunk. I'm gonna go over and get these two guidelines. Get a branch off there. Draw a branch. And then meet this back down to right here and make this a branch off. Make a smaller branch. And another smaller branch. Kind of going off of my guidelines now, just adding to it. There's a spooky tree. And I think I'm going to add a branch lower, just because it's kind of missing something down here. There's another branch. There's our spooky tree. Now I'm going to be done with my drawing, but if you wanted to, you could add more stuff in the windows. You could make your graveyard expand all the way over, or add ghosts in your graveyard, add little RIP things onto your little tombstones. Oh, let's add a moon before I move on, because we need that big full moon. There we go. Okay. So go ahead and add whatever else you want to your house. I'm gonna move on to the lining and coloring stage for my drawing. that's my finished illustration. I hope you enjoyed this simple how to draw of a spooky haunted house. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It helps other people find this video to learn how to draw. And please subscribe if you want more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, I'm Brittany here with your art fail of the week. Today I will be showing you how to paint a silhouette of a haunted house and also a black cat, just in time for Halloween. I'll be using black acrylic paint. You can use any kind of paint you want, and then a paintbrush. So let's get started. I'm gonna put my paint on my palette. If you have a paper plate, that also works. Okay. Your first step is going to be a square. So from the bottom, we're gonna go up and over. Down, and then you can connect these two at the bottom. And I'm gonna draw our doors and windows just so I know where to leave white. So I'm gonna make a rectangle right there. And I'll see if I can make small squares with this. Small square for a window up here. Another little square right here. Your lines don't have to be perfect right now. We're just doing the outline, and then I'm gonna put another one right here. Okay, now we fill in everything else with black. Make sure you leave your squares and that rectangle white. So you're filling it in basically like a coloring book. And if you need to make straighter lines on your windows and door, this is the time to fix that. You can either go over the line you made and make it straighter, or make the window a little bit smaller so that it looks straighter. I'm gonna get some water on my brush so that this paint spreads easier. That will be our main part of the house. Then we're gonna add like one of those upper floors that kind of stick out like a castle. So we're gonna go in with our rectangle again. meet it. I'm gonna try to meet it up with that side. It can be kind of crooked because it is a haunted house. So if you want to make yours a little bit more crooked, that works too. Okay, we're gonna add a window to this one too. Or at least I am, you don't have to. I'm gonna add like a taller window and fill in those sides. Or if you don't want to add a window up there, you just fill in this rectangle up here completely. Okay, now let's add our roofs. So for this side, we're just going to draw a diagonal up with our paint, like this. Draw a straight line over from there. And then fill that in. And then for this point, we're gonna make a rectangle. So we'll come up diagonal like this. Then go back down diagonal like that. And then we fill in that triangle. And there's your outline of a silhouette of a haunted house. And if you want to add like things on the side, like maybe a creepy tree over here, I kind of just did wavy lines up from this, just one line, wavy line, wavy line, wavy line, and another wavy line. Okay, now let's move on to our cat. Alright, for our cat, I'm going to turn my sketchbook this direction, sort of more landscape. First step, you're gonna make a bean shape. So, something like this, and then like this, or an upside down non-pointy heart, if you're better at drawing hearts. Then fill that in. Circle, kind of like an oval, more of an ovally circle. Fill that in, and we're running low on black paint. Okay. Gonna fix my oval, put the one outside. There we go. Now he kind of has more of a snap. Okay. Triangle from here. Little triangle. Like that. Fill it in. Now for the legs. Draw a line down. Two lines next to each other. One there. One there. What we're going to do is paws, just little circles. Circles. And I'm going to thicken this one. Gonna make his back more arched. Okay, so a little bit more steeper back here. And for his tail, you want it kind of going up in the air. Like that. And then if you want to make it look like his fur is kind of sticking up, we're just going to do lightly, just little lines all across his back. I needed some more paint, so here. Just like this. Just his little hair standing up. And you could make his tail look poofier too. Just by... I'm just dabbing my paintbrush along the edges. And there's your cat. And you can like adjust how you did his outline if you need to adjust it. Like I did here, and it turned out that it just kind of made more of a nose for him. And if you want to make him on a fence, it's just little rectangles. Without the bottoms. Just up, down, up, down, up. And then you can fill that in if you want. And there's our cat. I hope this video helped you out with some of your Halloween decorating. Maybe it was just a fun activity to do for Halloween. Please like this video if it did help you out, because others then will be able to find it if you do like it. It helps with the algorithm of when people search for this type of video. So I would appreciate it if you did click that like button, and also subscribe for more videos like this. And thank you so much for being here and watching.